All right, everyone, hello, welcome to your practice. Let's come to a seat to begin. You can sit however you want. As always, I recommend taking something underneath your sits bones to let your pelvis lift higher than your knees or maybe in line with your knees. And whatever you're sitting on, we might use that later in our practice. I'm sitting on a bolster. You could use a couch cushion or a couple of pillows or some folded blankets. So just be thinking about what you're choosing. We might use it later on in our practice. I'll give you the option to do that. And so this month we're focusing on back bending with emphasis on not creating back bend where we're most flexible, and that anatomically speaking is in our lumbar spine and our cervical spine, so our low back and our neck, but creating length throughout the whole spine in terms of back bending and creating space in between the vertebrae and not compressing the lumbar spine too much. Okay, so we'll think about what are the components of back bending in that way with length of the spine, and a lot of that will have to do with hip flexors, front of the thighs opening, and also the side body, the lateral side body opening up. So we'll kind of combine all of that. And so let's take a few minutes to breathe and drop into our practice first. Sitting up nice and tall, shift your shoulders back over your hips, chin parallel with the mat, growing tall through the top of your head, resting your hands down on top of your thighs. If you like, you could close your eyes here, or you could lower the gaze down to the tip of the nose and start to breathe in and out through the nose. And so just noticing what it feels like to breathe in and out through the nose. See if you can slow that breath down a little bit. Take in one more sip of air at the top of your inhale. And take an extra beat at the bottom of your exhale. About 3 more rounds of breath here. Good. And now we'll start to add on some movement into our practice, and we'll continue to utilize that deep, slow breath in and out through the nose. What we're going to do is roll all the way down to the right hip, bend the left knee back. So like you were coming into a half hero's pose or a deer pose. So it's like I'm trying to pull my left heel towards my left glute, and I'm rolling all the way down to my right hip. For those of you who are familiar with the restorative practice, I typically call that a 90-90 or a variation of a pigeon stretch. And I'm going to lean back in my hands. So I'm kind of just leaning my weight back into my hands behind my hips and see if I can feel anything across the top of that left thigh and hip flexor. And it might be subtle, it might not be a big, huge sensation, but just take a deep breath in here, inhale, and exhale. And the legs are going to stay as they are, but I'm going to take a deep breath in, sweep that left arm high, and then rotate my torso. Left hand kind of just plants next to the right hand. The legs are staying the same. I'm just adding a little twist. Inhale, left arm sweeps high and then back behind the hip, back to where you started with this. We'll do that twice more. Big breath in, left arm high, rotating torso towards your right hip. Plant that left palm. Inhale, sweep it back behind you. And then one more time, left arm high, rotate towards your right hip, plant the palm. And then come back, open up through the chest. We'll extend that right leg out to the side. So now my left knee is bent and the heel of that left foot is reaching back towards my hip, and my right leg is stretching out to the right side. Now, If that's too much on your left knee, you can always take the bend of the knee the other direction, so the sole of the foot's along the inner right thigh. But if it's feeling okay on the knee, you can keep it as is. We're just going to add on a lateral side body stretch here. So right arm's reaching for right foot or shin or knee. Doesn't have to get to the right foot. Left arm sweeps up and overhead. This left hand doesn't have to get anywhere, but just like we did before, we're going to kind of rainbow up and out of this a few times with the breath. So right arm crawls towards the right foot, left arm sweeps overhead, breathe into that left rib cage, and then sit back and up, and then reach for that right foot, left arm sweeps overhead, and then sit back and up. And then one more time, towards your right foot, left arm sweeping over the head. So try not to cave into the chest here. Try to stay open with the shoulders stacked, and then just feel some sensation along the left side, waist, rib cage. Come all the way back up through center. We're just going to switch out the legs. So stay with me here. Okay, so right knee pointing towards the screen, right heel back towards the right glute. You're rolling all that weight onto the left hip. Okay, all my weight's on my left hip. Both knees are bent about 90 degrees. And then I'm just going to take both hands behind me and lean back. So now I'm targeting right hip flexor, right quadricep. I'm just leaning back and breathing in. You notice I still am seated on my cushion, so my hips are just a little bit elevated here. If that's working for you, feel free to keep it. If it's not, feel free to ditch it at any point in time. And then let's add on the movement. So right arm's going to sweep high, rotate torso towards left hip, plant that right palm kind of somewhere near your left palm. Ooh, this side feels like a lot more in my body. So just notice how it feels in yours. Okay, keep that left palm planted. Inhale, right arm sweeps high, bring it back behind you. Open up through the chest. A couple more times like that. Right arm rotating, torso rotating towards left hip. Plant the palm. Twice more. Inhale, open up through the chest. Right palm plants behind you. One more time all the way through. Come back to that starting position, both hands behind you. Right leg stays as it is if you can handle that with the knee joint, and then the left leg moves towards straight. Okay, and then again, there's the option of taking the right knee bend in the opposite direction. So you can always take the sole of that right foot against the inner left thigh, or you can keep that right knee pointing towards the screen, right heel towards right glute. Your choice there. It doesn't really matter. We're going to crawl that left hand towards the left foot, shin or knee. Right arm sweeps overhead. So breathe into the right rib cage, right side of the waist. And then come back out of that, sit up nice and tall, deep breath in. We'll move in and out of this a few times, rainbowing off towards your left side. Doesn't matter how far you get towards that foot. What's more important here, pay attention to the sensation in the right side body, waist and rib cage. Use your breath. Don't force it beyond your range of motion. Meet your body where it is. Rainbowing in and out of this one more time. Good, and then sit up nice and tall. We'll set our cushion, bolster, whatever prop you're using off to the side if you were still using it. Come to hands and knees. Take a look at your hands, plant them at least as wide as your shoulders. Spread your fingers, engage your fingertips, tuck your toes, lift and hover your knees an inch off the mat. Start to feel your shoulders engage and fire up, your core engage and fire up. Take a deep breath in here. Grow tall through the spine, reach the crown of the head forward. Pressing into the hands, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And then go ahead and adjust the stance. Okay, so feet can walk back a little bit and maybe a little bit wider. Notice where the weight shifted in the hands. Can you get the weight rolling to the inner edge of the palm, the thumb and the index finger knuckle mound? So get flat through the inner edge of your palm. Press the floor away. Relax your head. If you haven't done so already, you can start to bend right and left through the knees. We're going to move through a lot of Surya Namaskar C, which is our sun salutations with lunges. We're going to work on deep lunges and we'll layer on some back bending. Okay, so before we head there, shift forward into high plank. Pause here, breathe in. Breathe out. Shift forward onto those toes. Come all the way down to the belly, with or without the knees. Stretch your arms back behind you. Shavasana, locust. Reach back and up through fingertips and toes. So everything's trying to lift off the mat. You're getting nice and long through the neck and the whole spine, reaching your fingertips back towards your toes. Toes reaching back towards the back of the mat. The whole back body engaging to lift up. Take one more breath here. And then exhale, palms underneath the shoulders. Release the forehead. Tuck the toes under. Get really tight through the legs. Engage your quadricep muscles. That's the top of your thighs. Press the floor away up to high plank. And then keep pressing through the flat palm, downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Let's take 2 more breaths here. In and out through the nose, nice and slow. Lift high onto your heels. Begin to make your way forward to the top of your mat. When you get to the top of your mat, inhale, halfway lift, and then use your shoulder blades, the back of your spine, squeeze the shoulder blades in towards your spine. So get really strong through your core. Exhale, forward fold. Press down through your feet, sweeping the arms forward, come all the way up to standing. Arms reaching overhead. And then exhale the hands to the heart. Just pause here for a moment. Big breath in. Big breath out. First round of Surya Namaskar C with lunges. Inhale, arms reach out and up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fingertips to the mat. Right foot steps back. Wiggle your right foot all the way back towards the back of the mat. So you're really long through that right thigh. If you want a little extra padding for the right knee, feel free to add that. Untuck your back toes, come to the top of that foot. Now here, you know how we always talk about stacking the joints? I feel like I do that a lot. I'm going to tell you to do the opposite today. So my left knee is on top of my left ankle right now. I'm going to see if I can keep the sole of my left foot flat and shift my left knee forward of my ankle. So I start to feel a little sensation across the back of that left Achilles tendon, heel, maybe even the calf. I'm going to see if I can get my left knee forward of my toes even. You can walk your fingertips forward of your foot. My right leg is relaxed. Deep breath in here. Deep breath out. So for me, this feels like a big stretch, a big opening for my right hip flexor and my right quadricep. And then I feel some sensation along that left ankle, namely the Achilles tendon, and a little bit in the heel bone. Notice where you feel this in your body. Let's step back to downward facing dog. If you're using a prop, you can set it off to the side, or you can just step over it. Downward facing dog. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. In down dog, lift your right leg up and back, bend that knee towards the ceiling, open the hip. See if you can find that sense of length along that right hip flexor, right waist, right rib cage. So still thinking about length through the spine. Re-extend your right leg high. Step your right foot forward, top of the mat, left knee down. Get really long through that left leg. And then see if you can start to shift forward, right knee forward of the ankle. Okay, so yeah, I know, conventional wisdom. stacking the joints strongest, that our knee does have the capacity to move beyond the ankle if we practice it in a safe environment, and then it becomes kind of a known thing that our body can do. Typically, injury from stuff like this doesn't happen unless you're moving too fast and you don't have the muscle or strength awareness around the joint to keep it safe. Okay, so in a safe, slow environment, pause here, breathe in. Notice again where you feel that sensation. Maybe left hip flexor, left thigh. Feel it in the right ankle. It's possible that your right heel has to come off the mat to get the knee forward too. Let's step back to downward facing dog. Big breath in. Big breath out. Left leg sweep it high. Point that knee towards the ceiling. Open up the hip. Breathe into the left rib cage and side of the waist. Can you feel that sensation of lengthening in your back bend? A little bit of spinal rotation as well. Re-extend your left leg, and then again, left foot steps forward. You were just here. Left foot steps forward, right knee to the mat. Now we're just switching sides. See if you can get really heavy in the hips. Shift that knee forward. This time, maybe layer on reaching the arms up and overhead. So really firmly plant through your left foot. Arms reach up and overhead. If you like, interlace the fingers to the webbing. Extend through your index finger, and then maybe lift the gaze up. Biceps, see if you can keep them with the ears. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Release the arms, plant the palms. Step back, downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Right leg high. Right leg high, right knee bends and opens towards the ceiling. Breathe into the side of the waist and the rib cage. Re-extend your right leg, right foot forward. Okay, so we're just going side to side with our lunges. Right foot forward, left leg back. See if you can shift that knee forward of the foot, maybe even forward of the toes. You could practice getting a little bit lighter on the hands here, or you can reach the arms up and overhead. Option to interlace the fingers to the webbing. If you're taking that interlace, extend through the index fingers. Option to lift the gaze. See if you can keep biceps with the ears. Now listen up, this time as we release our hands, fingertips back to the mat, tuck your back toes and just simply step your left foot forward. Left foot steps forward, inhale, halfway lift, both feet are at the top of the mat. Exhale, forward fold. Root down through your feet, sweep your arms out and up. Exhale your hands to your heart. Okay, adding on to our series, inhale, arms sweep out and up. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, halfway lift. This time, left foot steps back first. You were just right here, left knee to the mat. Right knee shifts forward. Get low in those hips. See if you can shift the knee forward of the toes. Sweep the arms out and up. Maybe you find that interlace. Maybe you layer on that back bend. Think about lifting up through the chest. Really stretching through the rib cage. Biceps remain with the ears. And then release your hands. Downward facing dog. Downward facing dog. Big breath in. Big breath out. One more breath here in your down dog. And then left leg high, left knee towards the ceiling. Stay rooted through both palms. Stay long through the rib cage as you point that left knee towards the ceiling. And then left foot forward. Left foot forward, right knee to the mat. See if you can get low in the hips as you shift that left knee forward of the toes. Option to release the arms towards the ceiling and interlace the fingers to the webbing, extending through the index fingers. Biceps squeeze alongside the ears, chest lifts towards the ceiling. Big breath in. Big breath out. Release the hands. This time we're going to step it back to high plank. Step back to high plank. Pause and hold here. Pause and hold in your high plank. Shift forward to the tippy toes. Maybe lower all the way down to the belly without lowering the knees. Your knees can always come down to the mat if you need it. When you get all the way to the belly, stretch your arms back. Inhale, lift your chest. Lift your feet. Shavasana locust. Option here to interlace the hands to the webbing, reaching the knuckles back towards the feet, squeezing the shoulder blades in towards the spine, shoulders moving down the back. Big breath in. Big breath out. Release the hands, the feet, palms underneath the shoulders. Tuck the chin, rest the forehead. One more little preparatory pose, and then we'll head towards Dhanurasana bow pose. Right elbow out to the right side like a half goalpost shape. Left palm's going to stay underneath the left shoulder. Right cheek rest on your mat. So you can see your left fingertips, your right cheek is resting. Press down into your left hand, roll towards your right shoulder, right hip. And then bend your left knee a lot. See if you can reach down with your left hand and catch hold of that left outer ankle. So all the body weight's on that right hand side. And maybe you're holding outer ankle with left hand. You could also use a strap, towel, or blanket here. It's okay if you don't bind today. You could also just practice building strength in the hamstring by bending the knee back and reaching the fingertips down towards the ankle, even if they don't touch. All right, let's start to transition to the second side. Roll back onto your belly, both hands underneath the shoulders. And then left elbow out to the left side, half goalpost shape. Right palm underneath right shoulder. Turn the left cheek to rest. You're looking at your right fingertips. Left cheek resting, you're looking at your right fingertips. Press down into that right hand, roll to the left waist and hip. Bend your right knee a lot. Reach down with your right hand. Can you grab the outer right ankle with right hand? If the bind doesn't happen, you can always use a prop, a blanket, a strap. You can also just build the strength of the hamstring and the glute by bending the knee and reaching fingertips towards ankle. Wherever you are, one more breath here. Nice and slow, start to release, unwind. Ooh, let's take a little breath here on the belly, stack the hands underneath the forehead, rest the forehead. Big breath in, and big breath out. So basically you just did Ardha Dhanurasana, half bow pose, one time to each side. You were just tipped on your side. Okay, so now I'm going to give us the option to do a second round of that if you prefer, or try Dhanurasana on the belly with both hands reaching back for both outer ankles. So I always like to use a prop underneath the soft part of my belly here when I do this. So I'm taking that prop that I was using at the beginning of class right in front of my knees, and then I'm going to lower down so that prop is resting right on the fleshy part of my belly. And I'm basically like in Sphinx pose here. I'm resting my weight on my forearms and elbows, and I'm stretching my legs back. So I'm already in a back bend. This might be a lot for you. Maybe this is where you stay. If you want to try Dhanurasana, both hands bound to both ankles, start off by bending at the right knee. You can leave some weight onto your left elbow, reach back, grab a hold of the outer ankle, and then roll that right hip back, down, and forward. Look forward, okay? So you're evening out that sensation, distributing the weight across both hips, and then bend left knee, reach back, left hand to outer left ankle. Now, without dumping your weight forward into this, and you might kind of lean forward and feel like you're losing your balance, totally normal. But see if you can use your back strength, kicking the feet into the hands. So really kick the feet into the hands. You're trying to pull your heel bones away from your glutes. And you're trying to press your shoulder blades together towards your spine. And you're trying to create this space, the sensation of length and back bending across the whole back, not just the low back, upper back too. Okay, so if you've got that, see if you can take one more breath here. If you're trying it one side at a time, switch sides. And then slowly start to release. If you're still on your second side, take one more breath there. And then we'll all meet with our heads resting on the backs of the hands. So you just stack both hands underneath the forehead, rest the head down. If you want, you could bend the knees here and then sway them side to side. Okay, and then we'll press up to hands and knees and we'll transition onto our back. We'll do a little bit of twisting to decompress the low back. In any kind of back bending work, there is always compression of the posterior chain of the back body. It's not always a bad thing. We're strengthening those intercostal muscles, we're strengthening those muscles around the spine, but we need to learn how to distribute that strength through the whole spine so it doesn't overcompensate the low back. Okay, so as you come onto your back, bend your knees, plant your feet. Right ankle crosses over left thigh. Little figure four here. You can pull that figure four in towards the chest. You can reach towards the back of the left thigh. Make a little stirrup with the hands. Pull it in close. And take one more breath here. And then we're going to turn this figure four into a twist. Okay, so releasing the hands, relax the shoulders, left foot back to the mat, tip that figure four off to the left side. Sole of the right foot plants, outer edge of the left leg relaxing towards the floor. If you need a prop underneath that foot, feel free to utilize your props. Sometimes the floor can feel really far away in this shape. If you were like, I feel nothing, I want more sensation, you can completely cross the legs all the way together like you were sitting cross-legged in a chair. Right thigh on top of left thigh, both knees pointing off towards your left. These are basically Garudasana eagle legs. If you're familiar with that shape. Whatever you're doing with your twist, let's take two more breaths here. In and out through the nose. And we'll start to unwind. Uncross that right ankle or right thigh. Both feet back to the mat. Readjust the hips so they're in line with the shoulders. And then left ankle on top of right thigh. Pull that in close if you'd like for more sensation in your figure four. A few breaths here. If you're holding that figure four in close, release that right foot back to the mat. Stretch your arms out wide. Start to tip your figure four off to your right. So the outer edge of the right leg is resting on the mat or a prop. Same for the sole of that left foot. And then if you want, if your knees can handle this, if your spine can handle this, if you want more sensation, you can cross that left thigh all the way on top of the right thigh, like Garudasana legs. Let's take two breaths here. And then nice and slow unwind. I'm setting up for a brief Shavasana if you have the time. I highly recommend just at least giving yourself 1 minute, if not longer, to do absolutely nothing. Lengthening out on your back, relaxing the shoulders, slightly tilting the chin in towards the chest. Deep breath in through the nose. Deep breath out through the nose. Relax your jaw here, maybe close the eyes. Shavasana. If you would like more time in your Shavasana, just ignore this next part. If you need to move on with your day, start to bend your knees, rolling off to a side. Pressing yourself up to a supported upright seat. We'll close our practice in the same way we began. A few deep breaths in and out through the nose, nice and slow. Invitation to keep the eyes closed here, the gaze inward. So feel, sense, or imagine yourself growing really tall through your spine as you breathe in. And feel, sense, or imagine yourself deeply rooting, settling into your seat as you breathe out. Get heavy. A couple more breaths like that. And then one hand to the belly, one hand to the heart, bowing the chin into the chest. Just taking a moment here to honor your effort and your practice with reverence and gratitude. May you remember that you will always be okay. May you find a light that guides you and keeps you safe. And may you have hope, help, and happiness along the way. Namaste, yogis. All right, everyone. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed your practice, and I hope you come back again soon. Take care of yourselves.